Hello and welcome to this Python, Django, and Wagtail CMS live coding session. Today we're going to be working on the Western Front website. I've got a feature that I've been working on. Pull request is in progress. I actually haven't opened the pull request, just the development is in progress. And what we're going to work on is adding a custom block, defining a custom Wagtail block that can be used in stream field content. So let's take a look. Let's get this set up. On the server, we'll open a pull request here. Oh, I haven't committed any of the changes. Okay, so we'll do that in a moment. We'll commit these and push them. Give a quick demo of the feature in progress. When I edit a page, let's go to the Wagtail admin and edit a, not the welcome page, but this testing page, for example. The limitation of Wagtail's rich text editor is that when you define a heading, you can specify the heading level, and it'll apply a style and the appropriate tag on the front end. But when I publish that and view it live, this is the heading I just added. It doesn't let us apply any other style or anchor, for example, to the heading, which is the design decision of the Wagtail core developers, and I think maybe a limitation of the this rich text editor. It doesn't quite make it easy to add complex menu items here. It's pretty much a button is the de facto type of rich text widget. I forget the name of this. It's a React. Rich text editor. It's called Wagtail. So draft WYSIWYG. No. Draft.js. There we go. Essentially, when I look at the Draft.js examples and documentation, they're pretty much defining just single buttons, not more advanced components like a drop-down menu that will allow you to select between different font styles, for example, or add additional attributes to the text. You can select text and apply tags, and those tags can have like default styles, but much beyond that doesn't seem to be that straightforward, and I didn't go deeper into the documentation. Weird that I can't get to It's not very well documented. I mean, yeah, but essentially I don't want to dig too much into that. I'm trying to stick as close to just Python as possible. Granted, you know, you need sprinkles of JavaScript at the very least for interactivity in the user interface, but I don't want to dedicate a lot of effort into React and just rather keep things more declarative and Pythonic. So perhaps there is a way. The use case is the editor wants to be able to define colors, headings with different colors. Hey, welcome, Sharif. How you doing? Yeah, this it's not so much as a tutorial as kind of a live coding session, but anyway, welcome. And if you've got any questions, I can help. I've been working with Wagtail for several years now, so I can kind of help explore any challenges you're facing, or if you've got any ideas, you can run them by me, and I'll give you some feedback. So the idea is we want to be able to define custom style as well as defining an anchor. So if I view the page source, if I view this, if I inspect this element, we've got a heading that's now been styled with a color style, and we should have an anchor tag. Let's edit this page and take a look at the Wagtail block that we defined, stream field block. So we essentially took the headings out of the rich text editor and defined our own kind of heading block, where you choose a heading level. Now every page has a single header level 1, and we're using that from the page title. And I'll show you the code for this in just a moment. It's pretty straightforward, just Python. So we're allowing to define up to level 6, and I'm kind of giving some indications. We had a discussion about the importance of using headings in a hierarchical manner, and not so much to control the size of text as is commonly done. So we want the editor to understand that a level 2 should be a direct child of level 1, and level 3 should be a child of level 2, and so forth. You can put your text in there. Those are required fields. And now a target slug. Here we go. So if I add a slug here, and I can colorize this, and for some reason the color, okay, there we go. So I'll apply a different slug there and a different color to this one. And you know, granted, this is a little bit of a foot gun, and I'm kind of have been cautioning that you don't want to use any arbitrary color for accessibility reasons. The same way you wouldn't want to just arbitrarily select a heading level to control the font style. But nonetheless, we're giving the content editor the tool and trust to use the tool correctly as they need to change the color of certain texts on the page, as well as potentially styles, but we're going to explore that in a future live code stream. So when I view this page live again, so now we've got this heading with the, well, it's not normal color anymore, but the blue color applied. Now if I inspect the element, we should also have an anchor applied to this. Let's see. So where is it? The anchor is not being applied, so we'll get that. We'll fix that right now. Let's take a quick look at the code. fix this up and then apply it throughout the project. I'll just commit this because I believe we're going to stick with this color panel. So essentially, all we've done is defined a blocks.py. I've got a Django app called Streams. It could be better named, I think, at this point. But inside of Streams, or Stream field, these are custom blocks, essentially. The whole app is defined to contain site-wide blocks that we're using. And so I've defined those in blocks.py. There's not there's no models for this this app or really tests necessarily. And I've defined a custom block called heading block. And now we're just, in order to do this, we're inheriting from the Wagtail struct block, which lets you define structured blocks with multiple fields. And a block is just something like a widget you can move around in your content, your Wagtail stream field content. So when I edit this page again, we'll notice that the body of this page is a stream field, and you can add different types of blocks. And the power of this is, and it's a kind of a paradigm shift in web content management, is that these blocks can be very rich and dynamic, have functionality beyond just styling text or displaying an image. They can embed multimedia or have a styled block quote, for example. We're going to deprecate this. This was just an anchor target to let you create a hyperlink with an anchor further down the page, so it would scroll the user there. We're now moving that into the heading element. And there are other block types. You can even, for example, if you've got a design system with certain types of front-end components like cards or image carousels, you can define blocks for those. It's quite powerful and intermix those freely. So it gives the content editor a lot of flexibility with how they define pages of content, more or less. So let's go ahead and close this one out. So we'll go back to the code real quick. And essentially our structure block, the heading block, contains a heading level. And this is just following Django, regular kind of idiomatic Django code. When you have fields, you have choices. You can limit the, so you've got the value that gets stored in the database as well as the label text that gets displayed to the user. You can localize these texts. In this project, we're not dealing with localization, but that could be something that's important to your projects. You can just define help text. Again, this can be localized. We've got another character block this time. That was a choice block, which is essentially a choice field. It gets rendered as a form field. Character block for defining the character text. And another one for the slug. Now, we've used a help text and a validator here to make sure it's this comes out of the Django framework, that it's adhering to a slug character set, which is all the alphanumerics and dash and underscore, I think, are valid URL slugs, because an anchor is essentially intended to be used partially as a part of a URL, part of the address bar, so that it can jump the user to a particular section of a page, but it's optional. And then we've got this native color block, which is what renders that color widget when I edit the page. And this is handled by the browser, so each browser has its own color chooser. That's why they call it native color block. And some meta that we get to give it an icon and a template we're going to look at in just one moment. So the icon appears, for example, here, and it's also in the block chooser. That was pretty much the closest I could find to header levels 1, 2, 3 kind of a symbol. Now if I look at this heading.html, all we're doing here is, this is essentially HTML with mustaches. It's the Django templating language. And this is a pretty dense template because I'm essentially getting a value from this field where it's kind of the HTML block. Element is the H2, H3, H4, 5, 6. And we're creating an HTML tag. Let's just look at this closing tag, for example. And inside of that closing tag, we're putting the value from the heading level field. So in other words, this template is going to have a value in the template context, and that value is the value of this heading block that's being passed to it when it renders in the front end. And that value has a heading level field, which is going to be one of these values. And so that's used to construct the HTML tag and the closing tag. Now additionally, we have an optional field that a user can supply a color, and if so, we want to apply a style attribute. So kind of like an inline style. And likewise, in fact, we want to check if the user supplied target slug. So if they've supplied a target slug, then we'll say ID equals value of the stream field, the target slug. So essentially, you'll use this ID as the hash segment of a URL in the address bar. So now if I re-render this page or view it live again, we can see these are the custom headings that are colored. That was the default heading in the rich text editor. So let's look at one of these custom headings. If I inspect that element, we should now see that it's got an ID here, test target. So in other words, it's kind of a long one. Let's go kind of short page. Another example is in the back end. If I go here, I think it is, edit this test page. This page has a lot of lorem ipsum. No, I thought so, but no, that's the wrong one. It's down here. This is another test. So we've got a lot of lorem ipsum, and define this anchor block similarly to how we've defined the heading block, but now I'm going to replace this with a heading, and let's say it's heading level 2 with anchor. Okay. And just so it stands out, let's make it red-ish, almost salmon. Publish. View live. So now if we scroll down this page, we've got this heading with an anchor. Now what I essentially want to do is I inspect this, in fact. We've got this ID, and I can use this now as a slug, anchor slug. And when you load the page, it kind of happens fast, but let's see if I open this in a new tab. It jumps you to the desired section of the page. So this was a kind of a bonus feature. And that's pretty common that headings would have an anchor. In fact, they'll usually have a little icon here that lets you copy the anchor tag if it exists. I'm not going to go that far with this feature request, but it could be an enhancement we can add later. So yeah, the code is essentially working. I'm going to commit these basic parts and apply it to a couple of other content types. So let's see. So we'll install. Pretty much one line change there in base file. So we define the block. I'll include the template in this commit. Define heading block with template, and more or less it's complete. There's the first commit, and what we're going to do is just use this heading block in various models around the site. So this is the tricky part. We want to be consistent. Add this line of code. This is models py. I wish we could show a little more of the path here. Let's just start at the top. Okay, so this is the accounts app, addresses, cart community, models, community page, body, stream field, target. We're going to remove the target. Actually, let's just do this one at a time. Heading block, and we need to import that. And I'll leave these open so I can remove the target block after going through here. So on the community page, we'll want to be able to use the heading block. Contact page, maybe. If there's a stream field. No, just text. Oh, it's contact. Oh, yeah. So it could be. So we're not using that. Import menu. There's a lot of unused imports. This has been under a lot of development though. Okay, so we've got a stream field. Super stream field. Parentheses. Community body. Let's write equals stream field. With the heading. Not formatting those quotes, that's strange. Then we also want to disable these headings from the rich text block. Search in just a moment. Rich text block. We don't want to use it on every stream field. I should probably call this rich text. Alright, now we'll look for the rich text block. Let's see. I can filter out. Sorry, can I filter out the migration? Here's an example of a couple of other high-level blocks. We're using essentially Bootstrap blocks here, and Bootstrap semantics to display rows of blocks. Migrations. I'm going to have to squash these migrations eventually, but there's that. I just realized this is going to be a tangled commit, but okay, I'm going to have migrations in here. These changes are going to get migrated as well. Huh. Let's see what that is. And then I'll just remove the unused stream. Not use this anymore. Remove anchor target. Alright, so this is a bunch of cleanup. Use heading block. Clean up along the way a bit. And more or less renaming it to rich text instead of paragraph with sort of a cleanup task. Push these up. Open the pull request. With optional color and anchor. One thing I'd like to do is lint these with black and kind of clean up all these unused imports if I can just do that with one pass. Prettier shouldn't be. Migrate. Oh no. No, I need to clean up anyway. Find every use of anchor target. Cool. And so formatting. I put this to single quotes, it would format it to double quotes. No. Dang it. That's not good. That should be in the dependencies. Okay. See how do we do this? Poetry at dev dependency. Alright. Just dash dev. Finally got off the beta track and just did a proper release. Now to somehow format with black. VS Code. Well, that's not quite what I want. Let's change this again to single quotes. Somewhere else. It's not super important, but VS Code. I might have disabled code formatting for this project, if I recall correctly. I was having some troubles with that. Fortunately, there's more trouble by disabling it. So if I there it went. I thought the fade and black played well together. Let's see. But migrations. Well, this new Django version coming out, I don't remember what it is going to auto format these with black anyway. So let's go for it. Yeah, cool. So it's a difficult PR to review now, admittedly, but I wanted to do that at some point. Thanks, this is good. It's useful. So now we've got 22 files, 118 files, there we go. 10 minutes ago, so that should update soon. And then there's a little bit of blocks 121. Let's take a look at those. A little bit of discrepancy between PEP8 and black, which I can change for the configuration. Let's open that file. Close a bunch of these. $53. It's the help text. I can just ignore those. Ignore line. not a specific file, but a specific line. No QA. I'm gonna try this as a test, but what's our error code? 501. Hopefully it'll let me just skip it. Prefixing the line with the no QA. Now, how do I pep8 that? Well, okay. A little bit of an extra commit. Doesn't work. Alright, I'm not super opinionated, but it would be nicer. Be nicer to put it above the line. Okay. Yeah, format's unset now. Good. Alright. Ah, dang it. Wrong error message. All right. Perfect. Whew. A lot of lines changed now. Quite a bit of noise. Better close this pull request. Now, I believe this is going to affect our content importers because we're adding a new block type where we're not just able to import the headings now as regular character fields. There's a structure to them now, including sub properties, so heading text and heading type. I'll need to extract those in the importer and potentially look for style attribute, which is going to make things more complicated. But I'm going to handle that in a different effort. Okay, I'm going to take a short break here and come back with another project, the Jerry Life Elder Care project. But I wanted to make a little bit of progress here on Western Friend. So thank you very much for your time. If you're checking this out on the YouTube video feed, do add any questions or comments below and I'll try to respond to those as soon as possible. If you're interested in seeing more tutorial-oriented content, let me know what you're interested in learning and exploring, and I'll try to see what I can learn about it in this live stream context. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.